Hey everybody, definitely wanted to do a Wednesday word. It'll be the first one technically because last week was a rant about how Donald Trump is just oh so awesome. So basically, I got cut off in my last video, so if you were watching it, my bad. Weak internet connection. But this Wednesday word, we're going to talk about a few different things. In particular, we're going to talk about Jeff Sessions got put forward through a nomination process of the Senate committee. It's terrible, but what are you going to do? I know Steve Mnuchen, he's being considered for Treasury Secretary. $750 million that he just didn't disclose in money to the Congressional Ethics Office. I wish I lost $750 million. That'd be great. But the March for Science, it's going to be April 22nd. I know I shared a picture earlier today. I'll be trying to coordinate a trip. If you guys are interested, please message me. We'll definitely get that going. Other things this week. God, where to start? So last week was a little bit more of a rant, but this week you just gotta keep with it. I'm going to still promote Justice Democrats. It's a nice little organization that's trying to get rid of all the crony capitalism that's run rampant in our Congress and our country. Actually, a good story that I wanted to mention was that in South Dakota, this past election, during their election cycle, they actually voted for a referendum to end all corruption. That if a lobbyist gives direct money to a member of their state house, that they would actually receive $1,000 fine and up to 1 to 2 years in prison. Unfortunately, they decided that they were not going to have that, the actual elected representatives, and they passed a pro-corruption bill that actually threw out the old bill that the actual people voted on, and I believe it was only a 52 to 48 margin. However, when you actually look at how much money was spent on the opposition as compared to the pro side, it was staggering. Like the Koch brothers alone had about 49 different donors donate about $200,000 each minimum, and they themselves put in millions and millions of dollars into the campaign. And that just goes to show you that like the corruption in this country is beyond baffling. Other than that, it really is the big things that I want to cover, but geez, it's pretty terrible that a lot of things that are going on. Like, what is it? Did you see that Donald Trump in his prepared speech for Black History Month, which thank God there is a Black History Month. We need to honor all the great contributions that African Americans have done to this country, and just giving them the shittiest, shortest month of the year isn't enough in my opinion, but it's a start. He goes, literally, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, it's a good that Frederick Douglass is getting so much notoriety now that, his name is becoming much more prevalent out in the real world or out in the press or whatever. Really, guy? You never heard of Frederick Douglass before? Come on, man. Like, really? Really? You never even read one of his books? Like, I digress. I've only ever read his autobiography, and it was a long time ago, and I can give you some details about his life, but everybody knows who Frederick Douglass is. Jesus, man. And then his subpar, lukewarm appreciation for Martin Luther King Jr. was just oh so freaking terrible. It's so bad. I can't believe it. And then like he brings it up while that was going on, is that a reporter made a mistake and thought that the bust of Martin Luther King Jr. was taken out of the Oval Office. When he found out, he instantly retracted the statement and apologized. Said he was very sorry about the miscommunication. And Trump goes, "Oh, it's fake news. All these people here, they're all fake news." While he's surrounded by Ben Carson and I forget another African American woman, but it's just awful. On a science note, I know that Rick Perry's probably going to get approved for Energy Secretary, a man that has a degree in animal husbandry and graduated with a 2.0 GPA. For those of you who don't know what animal husbandry is, it's mating and selectively breeding cattle and chickens and goats and sheep. And it's basically having animals have sex with one another to make better animals so that we can eat them and use them for food products, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so on and so forth. But that man graduated with a 2.0 with his degree. And in 2012, while he was running for president, his short little term, like a little time running for president, decided that the Department of Energy, which he couldn't name, was one of the 3 agencies that he wanted to cut. Awesome. You know, the Department of Energy, besides actually doing energy-related policy in terms of oil, natural gas, subsidies for solar, wind, hydroelectric, all those different types of things, actually runs the nuclear arsenal, and they're in charge of upkeep of the nuclear arsenal and nuclear power plants throughout the entire country. The guy wanted to get rid of it. Like, are you serious? So that guy's going to get in charge of that. But on a good note, there are 2 Republican senators that are going to go against Besty Devos, whatever, crackpot. However, that still leaves the Senate at a 50-50 split. And then good old boy Mike Pence gets to decide the tiebreaker. Yippee. Which way do you think he's going to go? So, you know, hopefully she doesn't get put through, because that would just be crippling to the entire country. Because think about it this way. We already have a lack of science knowledge in the country. So you're going to exacerbate that problem by taking away education opportunities for the poorest people around us and driving the public education funds to a voucher system, which has been shown time and time again to only feed the pockets of the people who are running it, and actually have low substandards and subpar actual grades. It really doesn't do as much as the public education system. Detroit's a great example. Just go to Detroit, just look up Detroit charter schools and the amount of corruption and how much money has just been wasted, absolutely just wasted on those charter programs in an attempt to bankrupt public schools so their own results drop drastically, so that politicians go, oh, see, they don't work. They just don't work. So let's put it in the charter schools. And asked in her Senate committee hearing, well, what do you think charter schools should be held to the same accountability? You know, I think it was actually Tim Milquetoast Kane that actually said it. I'm 100% sure Milquetoast Kane said it. Well, do you think they should be held to the same standard if they receive federal aid or federal tax dollars? And she danced around the question. It was like watching, Dancing with the Stars. Well, not Dancing with the Stars. Let's be real. It's like me watching me try to dance to hip hop, like break dancing. It's just it was awful. She goes, "Oh, I agree. I believe in accountability." And he asked her again. He's like, "Well, what do you think of this?" Well, I believe in accountability. Yeah, me too. But give me specifics, or at least lie to me, or just say, at least tell me the truth. Just go, hey, I believe in accountability. Everybody should be accountable across the board, or I don't believe in accountability for private functional units, or private companies. That's the thing. There's been a reported memo inside the Trump administration that the EPA is going to be completely gutted, like absolutely just demolished. There's not going to be an EPA. I wasn't alive for it, but in 1963, in the 1960s and 1970s, New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia had a huge smog problem. And basically that was because we had no restrictions on dumping of pollution, on any type of industry. So, of course, we're going to have, smog. You're not going to be able to see anything. You're going to look like, all those pictures from the Beijing Olympics. Do we want that again? Like, I don't want that. I don't want that for my kids. I don't want that for my own self. I don't want that for anybody in the big cities or even outside the cities, because when you have pollution, it just doesn't stay in one spot. It drifts. Like, it follows the wind. Like, just because you live in the country doesn't mean you're not going to be affected by these things. Like, I brought this up, I believe last week, is the Tioga. The Tioga River out in western Pennsylvania. You could literally light it on fire. There were days at a time where water was on fire. And that's why the EPA is set up. I'm all for cutting, really bad regulations, and maybe we should streamline it, and maybe we should go through line by line and think, oh, this regulation was set up in 1905. Does it really have any bearing on today? And if it doesn't, get rid of it. But if it's like the Oklahoma warehouse fire, where they, snuck in a bunch of kids, they were partying, and there were no fire escapes. All the stairwells were made from wood, and 200, I don't know, I actually don't know the amount of people, but dozens of people, I know dozens, were either killed or they had smoke inhalation, they couldn't get out of the place, and that's why you have regulations. And I'm not saying all regulations are good, all regulations are bad. We can have common sense about these things. With Donald Trump signing the executive order that, every regulation that comes in, you need to cut out 2. Well, that's a great and nice thing to say, or whatever you want to say, but let's be realistic about it. Let's take a very systematic approach to it and just go, is this a good regulation? No? All right, throw it the heck out. Or does this actually save people's lives? What is the statistics on it? Does the cost-benefit analysis actually make sense? Does it really make sense to cut all regulations in, building houses, or, I'm going to be in research. So there's a reason why every tax dollar that goes into research for NIH funding is accounted for. And you have lab inspections. You have the FDA inspections. You have the NIH inspections. You have NCI inspections. And they come in and they actually look and okay, where's mouse 196? Oh, 196. Oh, that was 8 years ago. Well, I need to know where it was because that mouse cost $100. And then it cost another $100 to keep it running, to keep it alive for a year. So, and those are made up numbers, but mice are expensive. Really expensive. But you get my point. There are regulations for a reason. And yeah, it's red tape and there's some things, and I understand. I'm not saying, and there's this myth out there that liberals only want to control your lives through regulation. And that's not true. We want to be able to make sure that dumb people don't do dumb things, or greedy people don't take advantage of the less greedy. There's a reason why we had the 2008 financial collapse. There were no regulations on mortgage-backed securities and different things along that nature. So, there's a lot of bad things coming out of the administration right now that hopefully, we can really try to fight back. So, like I said, I'm going to be putting together hopefully a little group of people for the April 22nd March for Science. And whether that, we make it down to D.C., because I really, a little gassy. I really want to make it down to D.C. to show force, stand with my fellow scientists in arms. But, if you can't make it there, I'll certainly try to find out information about it in Philadelphia, New York, anywhere across the country. And I'll definitely post as much information about that as possible. But, so it's going to be a long 4 years. Really long 4 years. And let's just fight the good fight, Let's do it up. All right, guys, that's the Wednesday word for this week. We'll be back again next week. Check out the show. It's Saturday this week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be discussing MDMA, aka Molly or ecstasy. Not necessarily ecstasy. Ecstasy is this stuff that's cut with all the type of uppers and all the other kind of stuff. But in PTSD treatment, we're going to talk about its metabolism, the actual effects on the brains, what it actually does to your brain. Does it do anything in terms of the synaptic connections? Does it increase dopamine, serotonin? What is it actually doing to your brain? Does it make you all crazy? Oh. But we'll discuss that 7 p.m. Eastern Saturday. And then check out www.bioislifemedia.com. Nice little plug there for us. And then like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube. And then, like I said, Justice Democrats. Check them out. I know I'm donating $10 a month. I really think it's a good cause. I know there's a Bernie Kratz organization that's actually fairly well established as well. Check them out. The Young Turks, I'm always a big fan of them. And, just check out the websites. www.bioislifemedia.com. All right, guys. We'll see you in a couple days, and then I'll see you next Wednesday for a little bit more in-depth Wednesday Word. I'll prepare it a little bit better. I just wanted to get something out there for this week. All right. See ya.